Dan känner jag bek efter Diné, not over the kitchen.
During World War II, the Marines recruited Navajo men to create a code unbreakable by the Japanese, helping secure U.S. victories in the South Pacific. Chester was one of the original 29 Navajo Code Talkers.
My name is Chester Diné. My clan is a black sheep, and son of Bethany is a sleeping rock.
As Chester grew up, he helped his family take care of the many sheep they had.
Where I live is between Gallup and Zuni. The place called in Indian ways Chilchiltah, among the oak trees. When I was growing up, as a kid, with my grandma and my grandfather, my aunt, my dad, my brothers, I used to live on the reservation. I liked it very much, My mother died when I was a little kid. We had over 1,000 sheep, and I was part of it to take care of the sheep, and not very many goats, but that's all gone too. During the winter is the hardest place to live on the reservation when the snow is real deep. It's a hard place. They used to come out and distribute bale of hay, for the sheep, horses, and cows. It's a hard life out there at the reservation. But it's something that you have to go through from year to year. It's pretty rough to live on the reservation. It's pretty hard. The only way that we get water is we haul our own water in great big barrels like that. It's a rough country. A lot of things that they promised us, from Window Rock. A lot of things didn't happen what they told us, how they're going to improve your home and stuff like that. It never came. They just promised. But what they promised us, what they're going to do and stuff like that, it never came, what they promised us. I just don't like that very much.
For many years, Navajo children were sent away to boarding school and forced to learn English.
I went to school at Fort Defiance Grade School. Then I went to Gallup at junior high school. The treat us pretty bad. If they catch you talking Navajo, they used to punish you for about a week. It was real bad. Back in the 20s and way back in the 30s. I didn't like what went on through the reservation, how they treated us and everything like that, especially about our livestock.
In the 1930s, the federal government imposed a livestock reduction on the Navajo people.
I saw where they destroyed the sheep and some of the horses and cows. They shot the horses and the cows, but they burned with coal oil most of the sheep. They said we were ruining the reservation, drying up. I didn't care too much for that, Even little baby lambs, he took them. And what they did is they dug a big trench. They put all the sheep, and then they used I think it's coal oil. Take a match and dry it, throw it on top, burned up. It's a real sad story. My grandpa, my grandma, and my aunt, they cried, when they lost the sheep. I thought, that was something that should have never happened.
The livestock massacre, that I cried the first time I heard that. I just couldn't believe that anyone would be so cruel to the animals to burn them alive, and so cruel to the people to take away their only means of survival, basically. That totally broke the back of the Navajo Nation's economy.
On December 7, 1941, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor.
Back in 1942, there was a bunch of Marine came to our place, so I volunteered. There was 29 of us Navajos, young men. When we got to San Diego, they told us why they recruited us. They told us that we were going to make up a Code Talkers, and that's what we went through, 29 of us. We developed our own code that has to do with a lot of Marine Corps activities. I like the Marine Corps very much. They treat us real mean, training, but that was good for us.
When I asked Chester about why he volunteered for the Marines, he said, I was always raised as a warrior. And I said, well, explain to me. I thought of a warrior as someone, riding into battle with war paint and a bow and arrow. I didn't have any real concept of what a warrior was. And he said, a warrior is someone who cares for and protects the people he loves and the land he loves. And he said, it was my country that was attacked by the Japanese. I had no choice. I had to join the Marines. I had to be a warrior.
I really enjoyed, to protect our country. There's a lot of Navajos that joined the Marine Corps. My group that went in was called the First Original 29. We all thought that they was going to kind of treat us kind of mean, But I'll tell you that when we got to San Diego, as the Code Talkers, these other Marines, they sure treat us pretty good, 100%. They liked all the Indians coming in to take part in World War II. I was very happy to see this. I often think about a lot of those guys that were with me that got knocked off, they got killed or wounded, stuff like that. It's a very hard thing to see, something like that. Especially when you make a landing on an island and somebody laying down that you got acquainted with, or somebody that got killed. Some of the places I've been is Guadalcanal, Bougainville, Guam, and Peleliu. It's a real nice place, but it was all torn up when we got there. It's a beautiful place, Guadalcanal. They had a big airport that we took over from the Japanese. I stayed there almost a year. Bougainville was a big swampy country. It's a big island, Bougainville. Guam is an open country. It's real pretty too. And Peleliu. Peleliu is a real hot place. There's all kinds of animals, birds, of different kinds of birds. They used to wake us up early in the morning. It's just so pretty. But the place was all torn up by artillery and bombs. The first combat we had was on Guadalcanal. And one of our guys came out of his foxhole around about midnight and stood up right on top of his foxhole. And our corpsman, Navy corpsman, shot him and he got killed. I always think about some of the things that happened. Sometimes we were pretty lucky to come through. We were told to use the code ABCs all the way down to Z, picking up names of animals, birds, eagles, fish, all these things that went into a code. And it was very easy to learn our codes. We had a small box of radio about the size of a seatbelt like this, TPX. It's a nice little radio. One guy would crank up the battery, you know, and the other guy used a microphone to send message. And my partner was Roy Piquet. I stayed with him all the way through the war. And we took turns. One would crank up the radio and one with the earphone to send message. The first message that I sent in a battlefield it went like this: Japanese machine gun nest on your right flank, destroy. And in a code I said, not oze that's a Japanese machine gun that's on your right flank. It's a very, very, very hard situation to be in the battlefield. It's something that I'll never forget. I spent 4 years overseas and fought against the Japanese. At night it gets pretty worse, you know. It's when they come out and start shooting artillery and machine gun nets and grenades and stuff like that. The only thing we used to worry about is at night when we hit the sack is alligators. They come out at night. It's very scary. When we eat, to go to troops chow halls, we used to go sneak out to CPs. The CPs, the builders of airports and stuff like that. The CPs used to really feed you good. I used to go there and eat with those guys. The Marine Corps was pretty rough training during the war. But we went through, all of us, and went on into the war and came home alive. That's one thing I really appreciate. The Japanese tried everything to decipher our code, but they never did. After I came back from the war, they told us not to talk about the code. I think the most happiest day was the day I was discharged from the Marine Corps. That was the most happiest day, to come home in one piece. I was very happy and very glad to be home, to see my family and relatives.
After spending some time in the hospital for battle fatigue, Chester completed high school and attended college at the University of Kansas, where he met his wife.
I worked at the VA hospital for I don't know how many years. I liked the hospital very much. I was a painter up there. We used to paint just about everything up there, you know, not the patient. I painted some figures about, you know what the ABCs is? That's what I painted on the wall, and everybody really liked that. It's a beautiful place.
The code was kept secret for 23 years until it was declassified in 1968.
My family, my relatives, they used to ask me what we did, you know. The only thing we told them is that we talk on the radio and stuff like that, you know. It was a very hard thing to try to not to talk about what we did during the war. Finally, they told us we can talk about it.
In 2001, the original 29 received recognition for their service and were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal.
They awarded us a Congressional Gold Medal, and I've been thinking until my son that I want to hawk the gold. But I think that's one of the most beautiful things that I ever received as a Navajo Code Talker.
When receiving the Congressional Gold Medal, Chester was able to meet the president.
We're getting ready to walk into the Rotundo building for them to receive their gold medals. And the person, the individual that was interviewing us says, "What are you going to say to the president when you meet him?" So I don't remember what Chester said, but what I said was, well, when I meet the president, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to salute him. He did the salute right after that. So I always joke with Chester. I'd tell him, "Chester, you took my idea. Now you're going to be famous."
But I would like to say that I enjoyed very much to serve my country, and I'm still so happy about that. I enjoyed serving my country and my people. I really like that. It's a wonderful story. There's a book somewhere. That's the one, yes, that's the one. That's me right there, hunting jackrabbits.
I love my father very much, and I'm very humbled, the person that he is and what people think of him. And you see it on TV in black and white or in color, the carnage, the blood and everything, the guts and everything. And then I look at him and I say, "Well, Pop, is that the way it was?" He said, "Yeah, that's the way it was." And I respect service, man, for what they do and what they have to go through. Dad used to have us stand in front of him, and we used to sing the Marine hymn to him before we went to bed. And while we were standing there like steps, we'd have to salute him after we were done singing the song for him. Then he would tell us, "You can go to sleep."
We were very glad to be called into the Marine Corps to serve our country. I was very happy and very glad to serve my country and come back alive. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight the country's battle on the land, air, and the sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honors clean. We have led to claim the title, the United States Marine.